Hi, Ekta, we are going live.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another session of DNI for Charcha, brought to you by the India Diversity Forum. I, Ekta Makan, Deputy General Manager Content at IDF, welcome you to our online panel discussion. An increasingly diverse workforce requires an inclusive approach to health because different individuals have unique healthcare needs and experiences. By taking an inclusive approach, we can ensure that all members of a diverse workforce have access to high quality healthcare that meets their need. To discuss such an exciting topic, we have an excellent panel of experts today who will share their insights and experiences on this important topic. Our panelists include Neha Agarwal, DGM HR, DEI, India Region Hitachi, Pooja Nair, GM HR, SR, UK Services Private Limited, Gautam Saha, Head HR Business Partner, Indira IVF, Lisa Singh, DGM HR, Lead DNI and EVP, Novoco Vistas Corp will moderate the session for us. Before we begin, I want to remind everyone that this session is live streamed on YouTube channel. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to submit them in the comment section and we'll do our best to address them during the Q&A section. Thank you to all the speakers for accepting the invitation and participating in this panel discussion. We encourage open discussions and diverse perspective on diversity and inclusion. Still, please note that the opinions and statements made by our speakers are their own and should not be attributed to the companies they represent. Lisa, all over to you.
Thank you so much, Ekta, for introducing all of us. And, it's really glad to meet the industry experts of DNI and other subject matter experts on the call. And we're discussing a very different topic altogether on inclusivity when it comes to health. And specifically, it's catch a lot of attention specifically because of the years of COVID, which we have seen the impact on health, mental, physical, any top of it. And organizations has been very mindful when it comes to all of that. And I'm looking forward to hear some really good insights of my my peers across the industries, Neha, Gautam, and your other panelists on the call. And probably I can get started and have my first question. Probably I'll just pick up Neha. Neha, maybe we can start with you and understand that what's been your take? How do you see employers promote a culture of inclusivity in health for their diverse workforce?
Thank you, Lisa, for the question. In my view, there are two things that we can take through this question. First, we need to focus on the word culture. And second, we need to focus on the word health. So when it comes to culture, we need to understand what. Hello, am I audible?
You are.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm saying when it comes to culture, there are two things that comes into focus. One is the values and second is the beliefs, the kind of practices that guides the company to take further actions and the kind of environment it creates. Then comes the health. So now we have to marry these two things to understand and unpuzzle the riddle that you have asked. So when it comes to values, we need to see whether organizations are pro enough to include empathy, mutual respect, self-care, well-being, mutual care, safety, and things like understanding into its core value framework, which actually sets a really strong foundation to build an inclusive healthcare framework for its diverse population. Now, coming on to the practices and the beliefs. And hello,
Yes,
am I audible?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Now coming on to the practices, when we talk about the beliefs, the commitment that leadership shows, the organization shows, and that leads to the further actions, there are four major things that comes into picture. First, what is the kind of awareness organization can do? It is very important that organization focus on making employees understand the need of being taken care. It is very important for us to destigmatize the whole concept of taking care. So there should not be any difference at the workplace, accepting the differences with respect to health with diverse population. So be it PWD, be it LGBTQ, be it anyone with any kind of diversity, neurodiversity, physical diversity. And diversity could be in any form, their cultural diversity, their color, their genetics. So we need to make employees very, very aware and sensitized about these differences. As per a survey, 16% of the organizations are now focusing on unconscious bias that constitutes directly to forming a culture of inclusiveness at workplace, be it related to health or be it related to accepting the diverse population. Second very important thing, how are you training the employees? Whether are you training them for mutual care, mental health first aid? We always talk about first aid, but what about mental health first aid? What about if an employee breaks down at work?
Yeah, go ahead, Neha.
Go ahead.
We can hear you. Yes.
Okay.
Everybody is listening to you so mindfully that you're not hearing any
Okay. Okay. So second is about training the employees. So it's very important. Third, about the kind of benefits you are expanding. So if you're talking about diverse workforce, are you really putting up the benefits, the kind of bucket to your organization, which really imparts the meaning of having inclusion in your healthcare at work? Are you only focusing on medical insurance and not giving them add-on benefits like remote health application from which they can access any kind of care, be it physical queries related to health or be it mental or psychological support? These days, organizations are quite pro in that. So that also forms a culture that also builds a trust in employees to let people understand that, yes, this organization take care of my health. This organization take care of the health needs of all the employees. And fourth, last but not the least, very important, is allowing the flexibility in the working arrangements. So if these four practices or the implementations are coming in any organization, I think it directly leads to the culture of inclusiveness in the health framework for an organization.
Thank you so much, Neha. This is very holistic approach which you have highlighted from an organization standpoint, and I'll absolutely buy that remote health applications, because I think through our employee association programs, we are trying to touch each and every aspect of, be it mental, physical, all forms of well-being we can provide. And that adds a lot of my compensation or my bonus, but it's much more beyond that, right? Thank you, Neha. And probably I'll move to other panel members and get on to my next question. And Gautam, you're on the call. What unique health needs and challenge may be affected by cultural backgrounds, experience, and belief? What's your say on that?
Okay. Hi, Lisa, and thank you. And just taking over from Neha, I will give you the perspective of because we are into healthcare, and we are primarily into infertility challenges, and I will give you some data here, and which is very important for all of us to understand that how the infertility is actually growing, and and how it is going to the corporate. Now, if I talk about today, the ratio of infertility, which we see as per the data, is showing that out of 6 couples, there is a problem of infertility to one of the couple. So that the ratio is growing so large, and it's very important for the corporates to understand that these issues could be a chronicle issues, because once an employee, and when they are actually into a infertility treatment, and if the company policies doesn't support, so there would be a productivity issue, there would be a absenteeism, there would be a the employee morale, and ultimately the employee will leave. So there is a study which I was just undergoing few days back, the CIPD study, which is showing that 19% of your employees, they don't speak, to the manager or to the HR that they are into a problem of infertility. And if you see, which is in an organization, if 19% of your employees, we see attrition under different lenses. But if your attrition is actually because you have now millennials, Gen Z employees in the organization. So in today's context, if we don't make the organization open and inclusive in culture. Now coming back to the culture, which, as I add on what Neha has said very rightly, that it is predominantly, it is basis the where we are. So today, the culture of now when we, even though if it is a multinational company, even though it's a company which is completely operational in India, but we need to understand the ethnicity of Indians, and which is very important. So maybe in West, the white has been seen as a culture, with light colors. But if you see in East, now in the India, we are multicolors. So we have festivals of multicolors. So there is a cultural change, cultural shift in demography wise. So today, openly, in the Western countries, they talk about the issues, such issues, which is not only restricted to their domestic homes. It has gone to the people, friend communities, ecosystem, cultural, socio-economic level. So where we really see a dynamic change. Today, I will give you the another data which talks about the urban versus the rural infertility challenges. Today, the rural infertility challenges is more than the and which is why it is more proliferating, because today the rural people, you have many forums, many camps, and your doctors, and the technology has gone along. So there are camps, medical camps, clinical camps, e-clinical camps, block level camps, where at least we see a very high footfalls coming. Now 60% of the patients flow which we see from the rural belt, and the 40% of the patient which we see from the urban belt. So that is a very strong data which is focusing that the urban citizen, and the corporate, which is not still open in terms of saying that what policies, support policies which we have for the employees. We have policies for all. I give you some strong data again. Now the challenges, and if you see the unique health needs and the challenges, so I will stress more on the infertility side. Today, as we know, the woman, and we are promoting more women, and we always say that gender ratio for the organization, how to increase. But what exactly we are working on the inclusiveness of the policy. So today, on the women's, when they are on the first day of the period, so do we have a leave for them? Do we have and we see another very challenging ailment which is growing increasingly, that is PCOS. And which is the PCOS is the which is basically which is a very silent killer, and it is one of the reasons for the infertility. So do we have any we promote employees, the women employees, for the frequent health checkups. Now these are the basic challenges which as an organization, if we, and on at every level, at every demographic way, if we see, there are certain tweaks which needed to be done. Another study is showing, 46% of in today's time, the employers are actually thinking to incorporate corporate policies which would support the infertility treatments. Now today, if you see, the ART is another, which is a regulatory body, which is assisted reproductive technology. So the ART rule and the ART guideline has come in 2022, which is also suggesting that how this infertility, and what are the regulations and the modus operandi are going to be taken. So today, even the Government of India, Medical Association Board, everyone is taking this very seriously. So today, the companies also need to come out and bring some unique policies for the women and the diverse workforce, which is really engraving in a very huge way. So I would say the frequent health checkups, that it's some options on the leaves patterns, the leaves types should be introduced, and some work from home, because now we have seen post the pandemic, the work from home and the hybrid work culture has been introduced. So something inclusiveness to come in terms of the policy making, and which most of the companies now, the data is really encouraging to show that 46% of the companies now, they have started thinking in facility providing to the women, and they are actually tweaking their policies and employee benefits for the employee health and wellness. Yeah, Lisa.
Great, Gautam. Thank you so much for showing a different light and, looking at inclusivity at a work, from a health perspective through a different lens altogether. Really, shocked. I'll not say shocked, but very surprising to hear some of the data which you shared over the call, and absolutely a lot of opportunities for the employers to pick those, blind areas and, start working in those directions and make this world a much better place to work and their organization. Okay, so we'll move to Neha and hear from her as well. Neha, you heard from sorry, not Neha, Pooja, I'm so sorry. So you heard from Neha, you heard from Gautam. What's your take on this? Can you share some examples of how an inclusive approach to health can improve employee engagement, performance, and retention?
Sure. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you, Neha and Gautam. The insights were really helpful. I'm going to be talking, before I initiate or talk about some of the examples that we at SR really typically do with live really examples. I would like to first maybe talk about what is cultural diversity, what we typically really mean by inclusion. So cultural inclusion so cultural inclusion has basically moved to the forefront of many of our employers, typically HR agendas, and for a good reason. Creating a diverse and inclusive workplace is not only the right thing to do, but it can also create a lot of benefit for the businesses. We at SR, we have an HR vision by which we run with. And the HR vision is basically saying we want to connect emotionally with our employees so that they positively really engage in creating value for the business. So that's the HR vision, and we really function. So everything that we really do at SR, right from the processes to the policies and to the engagements, are always around the HR vision that we just spoke about. Diversity basically refers to being different in values, culture, ethnicities, political beliefs, sexual orientation, etc. Inclusion means all these people with diverse backgrounds feel valued, respected, engaged, involved, and are treated fairly. There is a saying which says that birds of the same feather flock together, right? So there's no effort required there. However, if you want different birds of different feathers to flock together, then there is an effort required to create an inclusive environment for them to flock together so that there aren't any accidents that happen, right? So at SR, all efforts are basically towards creating an inclusive work environment. The HR vision, as I just mentioned, is about creating or connecting with our employees emotionally for a positive engagement and thereby value creation. There are four, ingredients to a healthy life or to happiness. And let me talk about those four ingredients with all of us here: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphin. Dopamine is so these are four hormones which are typically created in your body. Yeah. When you achieve something, dopamine is created when you achieve your goals. Oxytocin is created when you typically, when you're helping or when you're serving, when you're giving. So when you do those kind of actions, you have this oxytocin which gets created. Serotonin is created when you are in a positive environment, and endorphins, of course, are created when we feel happy. Is your workplace enabling you to create these four hormones? If yes, we are leading a happy and a healthy workplace life. So our policies, our efforts in the organization should be creating these four hormones for our employees at the workplace. If we have done it, I think we've done everything best. Now, let me also talk about how do we do. So we basically, so typically there is, so our organization is a mix of older generation, and any organization, it's always a mix of generations, right? So typically, even at our organization, it's a mix of various generations. How do we do this inclusion? One example, which we run on an annual basis, is the mentor-mentee workshops. So here the mentor is not the older generation. Here the mentor is my younger generation who becomes the mentor to the older generation. And this is done well. And there is a lot of engagement that happens. They are open to ideas. We thought that probably it'll not work, but very surprisingly, the older generation is very happy meeting the younger lot. And open to ideas. They want to learn what is new in the technology front, which is a miss there. And that's how we are able to engage both sides of the generations. And this is what we really typically do when we talk about inclusion. So this is one of the examples which we run by. And similarly, all our efforts are around creating an inclusive work environment.
Awesome, Pooja. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and helping us to walk through what makes a truly happy workplace, and giving us some great examples there. So, I'm moving on, and that brings me to my next question, and this is open to all, right? And that's probably around, how do you think, in what ways can an inclusive approach to health? Neha, do you want to take a stab?
Yeah, sure. So I think health and inclusion and organizational performance, there is some correlation when we talk about absenteeism. So healthy employees, engaged employees, and as Pooja said, I completely agree that, endorphins and dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, organization needs to foster that kind of environment to bring all this. So if you're asking me what a healthier, inclusive environment will bring on, it will bring on all these four hormones. It will bring on happier, engaged, and more productive employee. As per a survey, it was found that a happy and engaged employee takes 1.2 times less leaves than a disengaged employee. The figures might be quite old, but that just shows that how a happy, engaged, and healthier employee contributes directly to the performance of the organization. Organizations are losing $1 million due to absenteeism, due to the kind of due to the kind of man days loss they have on account of health issues, on account of stress, on account of not just mental or infertility or something related, but any kind of, because today's lifestyle is such that people are bound to face health issues. So I think my take to have a inclusive, health oriented workplace for diverse workforce is to reduce absenteeism, to increase engagement, to enhance employee retention.
Absolutely. And, I'll just add on one point there. That's gone are days when one size fits all program or approach works, right? Now you have diverse, different age groups working within the organization, and what probably age group between 25 to 30 will differ from what health needs 35 to 45, or different age groups, different plans. So I think organization have to now move beyond and start thinking more and above their regular traditional plans, right? Just citing an example, in my one of my organizations I was associated with, we had this employee assistance program where if you have any mental health issues, if you want to take any therapy, you just call out this particular number. The adoption was actually higher between the age group of 24 to 31 compared to the higher age group. So these are little bit of insights. We'll have to also probably move from proactive approach to a predictive approach. Proactive is fine, you roll out some interventions, look at the market, what is market doing, look at your current population, what your population demands. But you'll also get little predictive in nature in terms of understanding that, okay, this is the data set I have, this is the age category I have, and this is what I can think to make more of inclusive workplace from a health perspective. And it could be, again, any health, mental, physical, social, all forms of employee well-being. So
just to add on here, Lisa, these days organizations are going bizarre, launching any or every kind of health benefit to their employees without even thinking whether it is making sense to the diverse population. So one of the approach I would say is very much important to evaluate the effectiveness, continuously understand whether your programs, your benefits are making sense to the people. So through regular employee surveys, feedbacks, suggestion boxes and all, it's very important to understand whether there is a ROI on your programs. So that way it's the measurement and evaluation becomes equally important approach along with the other approach that you talked about.
Absolutely. Thanks, Neha. Any other thoughts from Pooja or Gautam on this question before we move on?
No, I think it is rightly said. Neha has rightly said it, that and which you really started the conversation with is one size doesn't fit all, and it will never. We must look into what is the need that is there in your current organization. Of course, it is important to understand what is going around. Do your study, do the research, understand what all is available. What are typically the demands of the population, but may not be the demands inside. It's good to have all the knowledge, but may not be necessary that everything that is running around outside is going to also run around with you well. You've got to know your people thoroughly. You've got to know your system thoroughly, and then probably implement. So like the way, it's a simple thing. A doctor knows everything, right? I mean, he understands who are those 25 people sitting outside his clinic, but he would still examine each one of them, right? Without examining, he would not be able to, he would know, but he should not diagnose. And if he diagnoses without even examining, I think the recipients are not going to be too confident in taking the diagnosis. So you've got to be ensuring that you have spoken well with your customers, the customers should have the confidence that, all right, they have been heard, and then implement, because only then the response to the implementation is going to succeed. Otherwise, it's all there, it's all provided, but probably the ROI could be a miss.
Absolutely. I think great thoughts. Thanks, Neha, Pooja, and Gautam. I have my next question for you only, but before that, if you have any other insights, please feel free to share and add some light. Gautam, you're on mute.
I would like to add here, what Lisa here. So basically, today the approach for any employer, or the HR should be while framing a policy or framing employee benefits, empathy and understanding has to be very, has to be taken in a high importance. Today, the kind of, I just give you one example here. See, basically, most of the people, there are two categories of, employees. One, employees, they are located in your own condominium, in your own offices. So it's like, they come to the office and they leave at they come early in the morning, 10 o'clock, and they leave by 6 o'clock. Another set of employees, they are completely on a field force, like they are business development people, and they continuously keep traveling, and which is very high in numbers. When you see the salespeople, so kind of policies or the support policies which I give you some example here at Indra IVF, which is basically we do have B2B sales. And we promote. There are some we have some tie-up with the cult fate, some kind of the wellness companies, wellness facilitators. So where you go, and when you, and which is just in like to 25%, they just need to pay, and the rest 75% is completely negotiated. This is just one example where we promote health, right now, and where we promote wellness. There are certain programs which we run under the mental health, which we keep promoting, like at every segment of, like, because as you rightly said, the average age tenure, even at ours, is 25 to 30. So which is normally, which is very important for us. And seeing the kind of syndrome, the health syndrome, which is coming up right now. So work-life balance is very important. And during this work-life balance, you need to ensure that at least the peace of mind they enjoy. There are enough programs are there. They also take some holidays, which is very important. So normally people don't take holidays. So essentially, you need to take holidays, go for some breaks, and then rejuvenate yourself, and then come back. So I think the approach of empathy and understanding is very important for promoting health and the wellness of employees at every nook and corners.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gautam, Neha, Pooja, for your thoughts. And that makes me believe that, sky is the limit if you really want to explore and see what will make more sense to your employee sets, right? Because work is the second place where they're spending most of their time after their family. So it's absolutely important, specifically with the learnings of the last couple of years. This is one of the priorities in the coming few years for any organization, for a matter of fact. Gautam, that brings me to the next question as well, right? How do you, how can cultural competency training for healthcare providers, improve health outcomes for diverse population? What's your thought on that?
Yeah. See, basically, for the diverse workforce, and which is normally a trend, for every corporate and for every prospective employers, which we see, inclusive and supportive culture, inclusive and supportive culture. If I say, it's basically at every because India has a wide, and it has in 100 kilometers, you see a different ethnicity, right? So a country which is basically, which is where you cannot fit one rule, and and you cannot have that rule can be for all, So you have to make it different, because where demographically you are so spread east, west, north, and south, where the every zone, the zonal perspectives are different. Every their traditions are different, the cultures are different. So when I say this, the cultural differences are there at every places. So it's very important that say, I give you an example of Indira IVF. We have 116 centers all across India. Now, there are different linguistic people. Now, I'm coming to the second part of it, which is there are different linguistic people. Now, and when there are different linguistic people, and your patient-centric roles, people those who are facing the patient-centric, like the moment when the patient enters to your center or your, so the approach and the way they meet and greet, that has to be different. So that means, first of all, you need to take people from, and that's the reason we ensure that every centers which we have demographically, where we are having our presence, we ensure that most of our people, that the patient-centric role or the forward-looking role holders, the employees are essentially, they are from that land. That's very important, because when they are from that land and they talk on the local languages, what happens now? Then you take your patient, your customer, they are also very open to you, and when they see some similarity, that yes, he or she understand my language, and then the kind of privacy which we provide, and then they open up. So in this particular, the frame of question which you said, I would like to say the two things which are very important to have and to deal with your customer, if it's be it internal customer or your external customer or any of the stakes. Empathy and understanding should be your key principles to locate.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gautam, for sharing your insights and your learnings through all of this. That brings me to my question for Neha. Neha, what role do you think an employer, can play in addressing health disparities among their diverse workforce? What's your thought on that?
It's a good question, Lisa. I think there are two facets to it. First is about the organization, self-interest. Definitely, the kind of culture it can bring at a micro level within organization. If it is more healthier, if it is more happier, engaging, definitely it directly results into the ROI for the organization. And second facet is about human issue. So when we talk about diversity, it's not just about an organization's need, but it is also a moral issue. It's also a social issue. So if you are creating a sensitization about health issues and accepting differences with people with mental health issues, physical health issues, psychological health issues at organizational level, they are not going to stop there. They are going to their families and so to their generations. So in a way, you are also contributing to the social cause at large. So that ways it becomes really important for organizations to start this whole regime of creating a fitter, a healthier, and a happier world by making their bit of contribution. So it's not just one organization and one individual, it's one organization and ultimately moving on to the world, to the generations ahead. And that ways, I think it's very important for organizations to focus not just for the employees per se, their health parameters, but also for the societal issues.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Looking at more broader overview, how at the end of the day, how many lives you're touching and what an impact you're creating within and outside the organization. Absolutely.
There are multiple ways when organizations can evaluate the effectiveness. They can go with the claim analysis, clinical analysis, the data, how many people are participating in their health camps. They can extend it to their families, how many people are joining in the webinars they are organizing, maybe not just for employees, but for their family also.
Absolutely.
And as a matter of fact, every organization has to do 2% of its profit towards CSR. So this is a kind of a CSR that every organization must do beyond that 2%.
Absolutely. Very valid point. Yep.
Yeah, just to add, Neha, absolutely, you are right. The awareness is also a kind of, the responsibility. It's not a social responsibility, you say corporate social responsibility, but it's also an individual social responsibility. So as an individual also, it's very important for us to keep communicating that, what we know. And at many a times, when I attend some of the clinical camps, being from HR, but I keep communicating to my friends, and I would like to stress here, reinforce here, that many a times, your friends, your communities, they are at times they are not open up, right? But when you start some questions to them, and when you know there is some problem, and when you come closer and when you ask some leading questions to them, be a very friendly in nature, they actually state their problems. And then you can get some solutions, and you can also communicate that what they might not be knowing. And that open an arena of the leveraging the health facilities or the kind of facilities which you can make open for them. True, very true.
We slightly do a little different here. Of course, the backdrop remains exactly what we have spoken about. We typically do not talk about the problems that we as a society or as an organization is facing. We all have, and we all are undergoing stress in various formats. So what we at our organization and otherwise personally also what typically we do is we are talking about the solutions that should be done, or the lifestyle changes that one should be doing to be able to not have the issues that we all are typically facing. So, for example, we stress on exercising on a daily basis. We stress on having a discipline on a daily basis, having a routine on a daily basis. We stress on eating well on a daily basis. So we do more seminars. We talk more on leading a happy life. So how do you really create a positive environment at home? We talk about that to our employees. So how does it benefit? What can you do? How are you doing different as a father? When you're role playing, what are you doing as a husband? How are you contributing to the family on weekends? And we kind of get into group discussions. We kind of share stories between each other, and that's how we kind of. If somebody is not doing, but when they're listening to situations or the changes that their colleagues are making, they tend to kind of change their styles. And we are seeing a lot of positive changes there. And so that's what we are focusing on. We also do a lot of activities, which is we make people go out and really contribute to the society. So there are a lot of transgender sessions that we conduct, and we don't really go out and meet the NGOs and take external support and help to be able to do anything that we're doing. We take our own employees and we make groups within the organization, and then we conduct these drives typically with our own internal stakeholders. So that's how we are doing everything that is required for you to lead a good, happy, healthier, satisfactory life at the end of the day. And of course, if you are able to imbibe all of this, of course, this gets passed on. You will talk about it to your folks at home. You will talk about it to the society otherwise at large. So this is how we are kind of, that's the science that we are following. And I think this is doing well for us.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Pooja, for sharing what's working out and how you are doing things differently at your workplace. Great. It's been nice hearing all of you and your different insights across, this topic. And over to Ekta, and just want to hear if you have anything else, for us.
Thank you for the insightful session. I think the audience is still yet to absorb the whole sort of opinions we've received over the panel. Though we have one question for you, Lisa, from the audience that says, Lisa, you said adoption is higher in young employees. What factors do you think are responsible for more mature employees not being very adaptive?
Okay, thanks for asking that question. I genuinely feel one reason, or maybe a couple of them, which is very important, like why the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program adoption has been a little higher in that particular age category. People started working from home rigorously. There were no boundaries. There's a lot of stress. There was a lot of things which they were managing. And a lot of this happened because, we literally got limited from a social setup perspective. We were just within the four walls of our house, looking at the same set of people every day, same set of issues. And that's probably, impacted this set of this set of people who was very outgoing, haven't explored a lot in their life as well, but are already dealing with, workplace or, their personal level stress. I think this could be one of the reasons. And I would again go back and re-emphasize the fact that when we were working from home, and this data comes from that time where every organization was rigorously, day in out working from home. There were no boundaries at all. We were literally saving time on the commute part, but we were actually, doing a little more. And that's where you listen a lot of stories and why the productivity increased and, a lot of things. Like employees started compensating more for thanking the organization for saving my commute work, and I'm ready to give you back a little more. And hence there were no boundaries, like, the whole thing, I've heard stories where there were 5-6 people working at the same time, within the same premises at home, right? So it was a different site altogether, which this particular age group never witnessed in the past. And that's probably one of the reasons why the adoption went high. And honestly, let's agree, this particular age group doesn't shy away from reaching out for help, right? And specifically, if it's a neutral party provider who can help, whom you can talk, who's not ready and to judge you and, just hear you out completely. I think that's where this matters a lot. Probably that's one of the other reasons which I wanted to focus on, that this age category doesn't shy away from moving out and asking for help whenever required. And this is probably a potential opportunity for the organization also to take up and see that, where they can start creating more difference. And this is the age group you will be working more often with going forward in the future. So yes, that's the whole point around it.
Thank you
And
for
also,
elaborating.
just to
Yes,
add
please,
on
ma'am.
to the Lisa, just to add on to the Lisa's point, I think Gen Z is more social when it comes to the virtual setup, but not the physical setup. And on being by virtue of being more social online, they have access to a lot of resources. So when the kind of heroes of Bollywood or Hollywood talk about depression or mental health, they get impacted, they get influenced, and then they understand that coming out with your own issues is not a kind of a stigma. It's not bad. And that's where the impact comes. So today's generation, or what we say Gen Z, is more aware, and that also constitutes to the usage of EAP kind of services more and more by this age group.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Neha. This was such an insightful discussion. From learning about some leading best practices to increasing our knowledge on this subject, I'm confident that the DNI leaders and the students who joined us today have multiple takeaways from this Charcha. We hope this session and the examples shared by the speakers inspired other corporations to make workplaces more inclusive in the true sense. We are glad to announce that IDF is developing an on-ground corporate workshop on supporting a neurodiverse workforce. During this workshop, you will have the opportunity to learn about the unique challenges faced by neurodiverse individuals in the workplace, as well as strategies for creating a more supportive and inclusive environment. We'll also be discussing practical tips for communication, teamwork, and productivity that can help to maximize the strengths of our neurodiverse colleagues. The workshop will be conducted on 23rd June at Sahara Star Hotel, Mumbai. If you are interested in attending the same, please get in touch with us at inquire@indiadiversityforum.org, or you can call your respective relationship manager to learn more. On behalf of Team IDF, I would like to thank our speakers for their excellent insights and this thought-provoking discussion. I also want to thank our audience for keeping the session interactive and spending time out of their busy schedules to be with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.